Take 4092.
Hey guys, it's Ron Bass. Yep, that's me. With another edition of the
It's
Ron
you.
Bass Show. Your source for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, dry humor, Mr. Brent Atterbury. My sidekick, my producer,
That's right.
my marketing guru friend.
Okay.
Well, lots to talk about today.
Yes.
All kinds of good stories.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So I'm at the gym. Well, I'm at the gym every day, right? But yesterday I'm at the gym, and this young man, he's probably mid-20s, cool guy, tall, slender guy, pretty athletic, likes to sing while he works out.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Are you kidding?
interesting guy.
Serious?
Yeah, but good-natured, and he always likes to visit a little bit. And I could tell yesterday he was kind of wanting to visit a little bit more about, you know, what's going on maybe and who I am and this and that. And so he was telling a friend of his, he says, "Yeah, man, Ron, he lifts more weight than I lift. Man, I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, you know what? Here's the deal, man. You go to the gym every day, and eventually you're going to have progress, right? Stir and everything in life." And he says, "Yeah," he said, "you know, I used to smoke marijuana before I came into the gym, but I found that maybe if I do that, it messes me up and this and that." We got into a conversation about drugs and
Oh, wow.
smoking pot, right?
Right.
So that's always a subject that we'd like to talk about here on the podcast. And I said to him, I said, "Look, man, here's the deal. Pickle." No, I didn't say that. You can smoke pot because you enjoy it, but let's just be realistic. Since you're on a self-improvement trip, let's talk about this. Like, why are you smoking pot every day, all day long? Obviously, it makes you feel good, right? And without it, maybe you don't feel so good. So the reality is, man, there's probably something that's bothering you. You don't feel right. We talk about this all the time on the podcast. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to do a little podcast with this young man. I said, "Why don't you just sit down with yourself someday and look in the mirror and be realistic with yourself? What is it that's bothering you? Are you self-image issues? Do you feel depressed? Are you anxious? Do you have low confidence, low self-esteem, poor self-image? Whatever these things are that's bothering you enough to make you feel like you have to reach for something to make you feel good. What you got to do, man, is you got to face it head on and find the resources to solve these issues. And drugs is not the answer, man. It's a Band-Aid. I'm not trying to preach today, guys. I'm just telling you a story that to kind of reemphasize what I like to talk about all the time, that these feel-good things, whether it's drugs or alcohol or gambling or pornography or relationships, they're just Band-Aids to mask the uncomfortableness that you feel. And it's not a bad thing that you have these issues. I went through all this when I was young, when I was his age. And I still go through things. I mean, look, we're human beings. We're imperfect. We're not perfect. And we're going to have issues every single day. How are we going to deal with these things that are not comfortable? Well, there's a lot of ways to deal with it. I think, to me, one of the best ways is exercise. We talk about it every podcast. Something about exercise that just adjusts the chemistry in the brain. And you can read article after article. I read articles almost every single day about depression and how exercise is, they say now even, that it's probably even better than antidepressant medications. Or does just as much for you. Well, hell, if that's the case, you don't have to go to the doctor, you don't have to buy drugs, prescription drugs, you don't have to rely on that. You can rely on good physical exercise to adjust your brain chemistry to make you at least feel better, and not only feel better physically, but feel better emotionally, psychologically, because now you're accomplishing something that's not easy. And we talk about that all the time. Accomplishments really is the best drugs, or accomplishment's the best drug, because every time you accomplish anything, that means you're putting out you're putting out effort to reach that goal. And that makes you feel good, right? Feel good about yourself for going the extra mile. We were talking earlier about sayings, and that's another saying that people don't use too much. In our other podcast, which we did our first one last week, the Ron Bass Talk Show, where we interview interesting people to learn about them and to find out how they tick or why they tick or how they tick. And I was
What
telling
makes them tick.
what
Yeah.
makes them tick. Yeah, and
yeah.
I was telling Brent that that's a saying that I don't hear very often. But at any rate, sayings are cool. I don't know where they all come from. We usually talk about like the arm and a leg thing. We looked that up, and that cost an arm and a leg. But that's because back in the day, the portrait painters would charge you more if they painted you from the neck down. Arm and a leg, right? I know we've talked about that before, but it's kind of fun to bring things up again. Okay, so my friend at the gym looked at me, and this is the moral of the story, and he goes, I said, hey, I'm not trying to preach, man. I'm just talking to you because you seem earnest about wanting to improve your life. Oh, no, man. He says, I really appreciate that you're willing to talk to me, and I love talking to people that have experience. And I said, yeah, I just want you to know that I'm speaking from experience, not from, a book, not from going to school. This is life's experiences that allow me to speak with you confidently about this particular subject. And he was just so happy. And so I'm sure today when I go to the gym this afternoon, I'll probably see him again, and we'll talk again. And I'm always interested in talking to people that want to engage.
Yeah. Well, you also have an entertainment side of the business, right?
Yeah.
Well, is he any good at singing? I mean, should you recruit him?
Yeah, I thought about that.
Okay. Just kidding.
Somebody said to me the other night, they said, yeah, Ron will do anything for $1. If he has an idea and he thinks you can play a role in that, he'll try to engage you. He'll try to get you involved. But that's not necessarily true. Although I do find interesting that I find it interesting that I'm always looking for opportunities, business opportunities.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way my brain's wired.
Yeah.
Any rate, okay, so I thought I'd start out the podcast with that. Look, the bottom line is, guys, quit chasing the feel-goods and focus first on yourself. Get your own life in order first. Everybody's got something that they need to deal with, I guarantee you. A bad childhood, a bad relationship, depression, anxiety. I had panic attacks when I was a kid. I had a lot of anxiety. I had phobia issues. I spent years going to psychologists and psychiatrists. And I don't say that like woe is me. I say that because that's another resource that you can utilize to help you to figure out what's going on and how to get better at it and manage these issues. I still have issues from time to time because it's just ingrained into the brain. But I've learned over the years how to manage these issues, and I've learned, how to find more resources to help me to get through these issues and to be okay with it. Everybody's got something going on, guys. Nobody's perfect. You may look at people and think, oh, they got it made. No, everybody's got problems. Everybody's got problems. I was talking to my Lyft driver today about, hey, the sun's out, and everybody feels better when the sun's out. Yes, there's some science to that, but it's even more than that. It's like, if we can have a little bit of advantage going through the day, if the sun's out and we feel better, that just helps us to manage our day better. It gives us an opportunity to get through the struggles that we're going to have, because we're going to have struggles. I don't care who you are, man. Even my friend over here, Brent, as successful as he is, I guarantee you, there's something on his brain today that's bothering him. Some kind of an issue that he wishes he could figure out how to solve. That's just life. And let me tell you something, the more ambitious you are, the more of that kind of stuff's going to go on in your life. All right, on to maybe a couple of stories, cool stories.
Love stories.
This is a good story. Yeah, it's a good one. I don't remember the guy's name, but I read the article. Somewhere back in the 60s, I think it was, some guy got in trouble, an older guy, and he was unjustly prosecuted, and he was imprisoned. And he felt like, this is wrong. I think it was they didn't give him a lawyer. That's what it was. He couldn't afford a lawyer. So he wound up trying to do it himself, and of course it didn't work out. He goes to prison. While he's in prison, he goes to the library, starts reading. And he said, I got to have a chance to go back into court, which he appealed through the process because he learned how to do that. Went back into court, and I think he wound up in the Supreme Court. The bottom line is, because he was very determined to right a wrong, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, and out of that process, the public defender system's defendant system was initiated. And he was responsible for that. So now in today's world, if you don't have a lawyer, you get assigned a public defender. But it wasn't like that back in the day. And this young man or this older guy was responsible for that happening. And I thought to myself, what a cool story
Yeah.
that, somebody stood up to the system and said, hey, this isn't fair that I'm going to prison when if I could have had a lawyer, I wouldn't have been found guilty probably, or however it worked out.
Yeah.
So I said that to say this. Stand up for yourself. Be proud of what you have to offer. And if you think something's wrong, work hard to right the wrong. Okay, here's another real cool story, then I'll turn it over to my compadre over here. Culver's. It's a very successful restaurant chain, right?
Yes.
So back in the day, here's how it all began. This gentleman that founded Culver's was a executive with McDonald's. He, I think, was like a regional manager, had a great job, probably six-figure income, in his mid-30s. But what was going on was his father was failing at an A&W franchise. He had a store somewhere in Wisconsin, and his father wound up literally going broke. And so the kid said, I can't do this, man. I've got to help my dad. He quits his job at McDonald's, and he goes to the store, and they decided to rename it Culver's, after his father's name, restaurant. And they begged, borrowed, and stole, whatever they had to do to open it up, reopen it,
Wow.
remodel it, put a lot of money into it, made it look a lot nicer, changed the style, changed the menu, all that. And guess what? They struggled and struggled. They almost literally went back to almost 3 or 4 months, and still nobody was coming in, hardly anybody. And the kid stuck to his guns, and he says, I'm going to provide quality food, not crap, quality food. It's going to take a little longer when people come in and wait for their food because I want it to be right. And in the end, he said, hey, man, quality is worth more than the inconvenience of having to wait for the food. And he stuck to that. And little by little, the crowd began to come in, and they were complimenting the quality of the food, this and that. And guess what? The place became successful, and then he started franchising. This is going back into I think the 80s or 90s, a long time ago. And now they have almost 1,000 stores across the country. So I say that to say this. Believe in yourself, regardless of what's happening. Don't give up. Go for it, man. And if you don't make it, pick yourself back up, brush yourself off, and try again. But I love telling these stories because there's a common denominator in all of them, that the people that start these businesses have not had it easy, and they had to pay their dues. So anytime you're disappointed in yourself because you're not accomplishing your goals, think about these kinds of stories. Everything starts with something, with nothing, and there's a lot of struggle to all success stories. So don't beat yourself up, compliment yourself. What say you, Brent?
Well, this is not mind-blowing, but it ties in to something you talk about all the time.
Okay.
And that's fitness.
Yay.
And working out, being healthy.
Yes.
I was sifting through all different types of news stories that hit the internet, and I came across this one that says 82-year-old ultra marathoner has the fitness level of a 20-year-old.
Wow.
And this guy, his name's Lopez Garcia, he's 82. He's
That's
a
crazy.
world record holding ultra marathoner. And so these doctors wanted to do a study on what's going on.
Yeah, what's
Why
going
is
on?
he able to do this at this age? And they found all kinds of things. One of the things, they said oxygen, the amount of oxygen you can take in and use for your body actually diminishes and
Yes.
decreases about 10% after the age of 30 every 10 years.
Yeah, that's right.
But when they did the testing on him, he had the same oxygen level as a 20-year-old.
Wow, now that's interesting to me.
And all they can say is, number one, he has a Mediterranean diet. He trains, he runs a lot.
Yeah.
But they said he let's see. Let me read this really quick.
That's a great story.
Yeah, he trains every single week, and he has a Mediterranean diet. He also does workout with weights a couple of times a week, but all of that combined is the formula that's giving him this oxygen level. Now, some of it may be genetics too,
Maybe.
but he retired at 66, I think, and didn't know what he was going to do with his life, and he just started running. And
That's cool.
And he never stopped.
a cool
he
story.
ended up on the other side of the earth. No, I'm just kidding. No. But I just thought I'd talk about
That's
that
a great
today
story.
because, golly, this guy is living proof, and he's making it happen. The other thing is, today is National Have Ice Cream for Breakfast Day.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I do like ice cream at night. I'm not sure about breakfast.
And then, this is an odd story, but it's also National Cow Milked While Flying in an Airplane Day.
Okay.
I had to read
That's interesting.
what that meant, but it basically they did a study with a cow on an airplane
Oh, my.
and milked the cow, and then they dropped milk from the airplane with little parachutes on it to feed the people down below.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And so it's a story that's kind of stuck with history. And
Okay. It's
so,
a little
anyway,
odd, but hey,
it is
as long as you're
odd.
helping people, that's what matters. I'm not sure if they're doing it for that reason, but I'd like to believe that.
Yep.
Let me bring home the story that you're talking about the cardio and because I obviously study every day about aging now that I'm old, and I work out and I do martial arts. And so he's right. After the age of 30, you lose about 10% per decade of the heart doesn't pump as well. So what happens is you don't oxygenate your cells like you did when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Go into the muscles.
realistically, when you're my age, you should lose you're at about 50% of what a 20-year-old can do in terms of oxygenation, in terms of cardio.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what's very interesting. I've never talked about this. For the last 11 years that I've been going to the gym, I have found that I am physically stronger than I was when I was young. But even more interesting than that, the martial arts business, particularly what I do in jiu-jitsu, which is like a wrestling, requires a lot of cardio. Because you do 5-minute rounds and you're going, you're really moving. And it takes a lot of cardio. Well, 3 years ago I started doing the Stairmaster. And what I've discovered is that every year my cardio gets better. And it's
Wow.
not just in my imagination, because I train with kids 50 years younger than me, and I go with them. And my confidence is so much better now because my cardio is so much better. So back to what you said a while ago, it proves the point that maybe you can't stop it,
No.
but you can definitely slow it down and improve it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that I'm not at his level of cardio, but for me, it's a big improvement that I can get in and do these matches and be somewhat comfortable. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's definitely better than it was 3 years ago, and I'm getting older by the minute, right? So it does prove the point that you can do a lot about your cardio and your endurance if you do the certain exercises. And the Stairmaster for me has just been a huge gain for me anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Love
keep
that.
going on and on about it, but the point I'm trying to make is that, hey guys, if you're old, which a lot of our listeners now and people watching are older than they used to be, they're in their 60s, 50s, 60s, maybe not in their 70s, you can make a big dent in your cardiovascular by working out, running, doing some kind of exercise that requires, like they say, even like sprinting is really good. When I do that Stairmaster, I'm breathing hard, man. And I've learned to increase the speed, and I've learned to increase the time, so that I keep doing that more and more now, so that it makes me work even harder. So what happens is the heart gets stronger,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy when you're old, but it does. It's a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work it, you can get that muscle a lot stronger. Okay, so exercise. The point I'm trying to make. Okay. Anything else? Any,
No,
any words of wisdom?
Just to add to that, he trains. He does about 30 miles a week.
Wow.
Which is a lot, but he didn't always do that.
Okay.
He had
fair
to
enough.
work up.
He
to
started when
that.
he was old.
Yeah, he had to work up to that, and he's averaging that now at 82. Now he wasn't doing that, at 72.
No.
But
And the point is he started late, like I started
Yeah,
late.
he didn't even start till he was 66.
Yeah, and I didn't start doing any of this stuff until I was 61. So
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to make is that, hey, maybe that's not an exception. Maybe anybody can do it. Well, maybe not anybody, but more people can do it than they think.
Right.
Another example of believe in yourself, don't give up, set the goal, work your butt off, and you're going to find out that some super cool things can happen, guys.
That's right.
Okay, well, we'll get out of here. We probably bored everybody enough. So just remember, if you don't give up, which you better not give up, eventually the stars are going to line up. And when that happens, you're going to be so much better off. Until that time happens, and even after that time happens, keep your head up, keep your chin up, and always the most important thing, all day long, every day, is to stay positive.